All right, hello everyone. My name is Tannah Sellers, and today I will be discussing strategy number 2, currency as a primary source, in the book Integrating Language Arts and Social Studies by Lee M. Melberg. Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Tannah Sellers, and today I will be discussing strategy number 22, currency as a primary source, from the book Integrating Language Arts and Social Studies by Lee M. Melber and Alice Hunter. To get started, I will start by reading the introduction, and while I'm doing this, go ahead and take some time to look at these pictures that I have taken of the money that I have here at my house. The pictures on the bottom row of the coins, those are all foreign coins, and then the biggest picture on the screen is there's pounds, Turkish money, American money, euros, pesos, and yen, which is Japanese money, and then there's an American quarter. The concept of money is something even very young children know and get. Somehow, they figure out that a certain amount of currency can be exchanged for something they want, like a candy bar or new toy. Coins become a valuable commodity to be saved in piggy banks and eagerly received from the tooth fairy. This fascination with coins, money, and currency can help teachers turn students into young historians as they learn about other people and cultures by physically examining a country's currency. Individual student data charts as well as a class collaborative chart could be compiled to show the answers to these questions. Young learners love to use magnifying glasses to really study, examine, and compare the money of different countries. Older students can be asked to examine and study the attributes that constitute as good currency. For example, how heavy can money be so that it is still portable? How easy is a currency to counterfeit? And how large a supply is enough but not too much? Furthermore, by studying currency, students develop as young economists who grasp and understand in a rudimentary way such concepts as supply and demand and exchange rates. In primary grades, it is sufficient to teach simple exchange. How much of an item can be bought for $1? How much can be purchased for a peso? In grades 4 and beyond, the idea of calculating exchange rates and purchasing power can lead to a very natural interdisciplinary connections with mathematics instruction. Parker contends that economic ideas should be presented in real-life situations so that the learning is relevant to students' lives. Setting up and using a classroom store is an activity that can be tailored to engage all elementary learners. These activities can be as complex as setting up a classroom market economy, complete with savings and loan mechanisms, or as simple as a barter system in which young learners trade coins from various countries for goods. And that is a strategy that is talked about in this section of the book. So going back to the money on the screen, I have done a little bit of research on the amounts and how they've like the ratio of them to US American dollars. So the euro is about the same as the US American dollar. The peso is about, that equals about 50 cents. The pound is about $1.25. And the Turkish money is 0.15 US dollars. So it's kind of interesting to me that like the yen and the Turkish money have like the bigger numbers on them. I just thought that was really cool. And also this yen that is shown is about worth about $9 in American money. So let's go over the standards that we will be covering with this activity. In the curriculum, standards for social studies, strand 1 is culture, and strand 7 is production, distribution, and consumption. And then the standards for English language arts, standard 7, students conduct research on issues and interests by generating ideas and questions and by posing problems. They gather, evaluate, synthesize data and from a variety of sources to communicate their discoveries in ways that suit their purpose and audience. Standard 9. Students develop an understanding and respect for diversity in language use, patterns, and dialects across cultures, ethnic groups, geographic regions, and social roles. So, along with currency, students are able to discover different cultures and a lot of things within that culture. So next I'm going to talk about a resource that I found. This was actually a hard topic to find research on. It's just one that hasn't been researched a lot. So I found a resource on primary sources and how they engage students in the classroom. So I'll read the abstract from here. This article highlights some of the experiences of elementary students learning to use primary sources to engage in historical inquiry. Two teacher educators developed and taught social study lessons in collaboration with 5th and 6th grade teachers. The elementary students had little previous experience evaluating primary sources and artifacts. Using both digital and non-digital sources, the students began to understand historical perspectives and use historical evidence as the basis of their conclusions. However, difficulties were encountered during lessons using artifacts to understand historical events. The article presents descriptive evidence and the lessons we learned as educators. So I found this resource very interesting because it actually walks you through 3 lessons that these teachers used, and it tells you what went wrong. And I just think that's really interesting because most of the time everything's just all about the good, but this article shows you what went wrong, and that gives you a resource and an idea of how to fix something that goes wrong like this in your classroom. So we've talked a lot about different things that can be primary sources in the classroom, and this article gives a really good definition of what a primary source is. So primary sources are original items or records that have survived from the past, such as clothing, letters, photographs, and manuscripts. They were part of a direct personal experience of a time or event. So I think that's really good to actually know what a primary source is. And then the article goes on to say, traditionally, primary sources have rarely been used in elementary classrooms. This has been due primarily to the lack of availability of primary sources and to the lack of time elementary teachers have to locate primary sources. In recent years, however, technology has allowed educators to connect with resources outside of the classroom. These digital resources give students greater access to primary source materials and provide resources for educators. Elementary students must have opportunities to engage in the evaluation of historical/primary sources, develop conclusions based upon evidence, and create historical knowledge. So this article is titled Elementary School Students, Artifacts, and Primary Sources, Learning to Engage in Historical Inquiry. It is by Cheryl Franklin Torres and Scott M. Waring. Just really great. And then at the end of this source, there was this one part that I really liked. It says, the students overwhelmingly indicated that the use of primary source made history come alive for them. It is a big struggle in history that it is kind of boring for students. So I think this is an awesome way to get students really interested and make it come alive and make it a great experience for them. So now talking about the procedure that the book talks about. So basically, the teacher obtains and provides money from the United States and other countries. The money that I have obtained is from trips that I have taken around the world, and my uncle is a physical therapist and he got to travel with the United States Olympic team, so he's been all over the world, and so I've been lucky enough to have him bring me back a little bit from wherever he's gone. So then the teacher should provide questions to direct the inquiry. Questions can relate to the physical descriptions concerning the size, shape, and weight of the money, as well as to what is depicted on the currency. Further questioning and discussion should concentrate on assisting young historians comparing the currencies from the other countries to that of the money from the country they are most familiar with, the United States. The teacher can identify or have students identify on a world map the countries represented by the money. Learners should then proceed to the class store or learning station store. Here they will be directed to use their currency to purchase items. Some teachers might actually have students use the money they were given to really purchase such items as papers, erasers, and pencils so that they can be used in the classroom. As the younger grades, it is most appropriate for the teachers to be the storekeeper. In the older grades, you could assign someone to be the storekeeper, and that works with students being able to do mathematic problems, so they could receive pesos and then have to give change or just convert the pesos into American dollars. Items also should be priced so that there is no change that needs to be made. So for example, a pencil should cost 5 cents or 3 pesos. With older students, a classmate can serve as a storekeeper to set the price of items, conducting the bartering and making change. So that is the activity. So basically what you do is you set up a classroom store, and then you have your students use the money that you give them to purchase their items. And I think that's just really awesome because it gives them that sense of buying and what is important to buy and what they don't really need. And then in the older grades, I really like that you can have a person actually be the storekeeper, and just the math that comes out of that could be something that's really cool. So for grade level modifications, in K through second grade, students are really interested in the physical aspect of the coins and paper money, and they can talk about the historical facts about the people and items contained on the currency. So for example, like President Washington, George Washington, you can talk about him, what money he's on, and then like what he did as a president. And then in third through fifth grade, a question that is really good to ask your students is, how was it decided who and what was pictured on the currency? So like, what did they do for our country, or like, why are they on this money, basically? And then at sixth through eighth grade, you can just take all of that one step further, and the older learners might also benefit from physically examining currency and relating images to famous people or events. I also think that through all these grades, something that is really cool for students is to get out that magnifying glass and look at different money, and actually being able to have that hands-on experience with it and looking at all the different aspects of it. I'm going to use the pound as an example for this one. So I showed it earlier, but so this is from England, and as you can see, it looks very different than the American dollar. There's this see-through thing, and it feels different. It's very smooth. And also something that's cool about this is that it cannot be ripped. So that's really cool. So they could look at aspects like that to the money at all grade levels. So here's a data sheet that the book provides for you. So the first picture is the first part. So this can get their creativity flowing. So draw a picture of the US money. How do you see the US money? And then draw a picture of the money from another country. I think this gives them a real chance to look at the differences and like understand just how different the currency is across the world and just how cool that is. And then the second part, they compare and contrast them. So how are they alike? How are they different? What could you buy with your money? And how did you feel using different types of money? So that last question would be after you do the class store with this activity. So meeting the needs. For special needs, this is actually a really good activity for them because it gets the kinesthetic involved in their learning. A few things that you could do is allow more time for those who struggle with math with the stores when they're trying to decide how much money they should give, all that stuff. Just give them a little more time, and then providing a visual diagram of the actual store so that they can just follow the visual diagram and then follow it through the classroom. For English language learners, this one was really interesting to me actually. Students who are from different countries may want to bring in samples of their country's money and play the role of an expert on this country. Because singling out a student is not recommended, allowing all students to share foreign currency they may have from trips or family members leaves this opportunity open without spotlighting a single student. Students can present to their classmates not just the facts about the money, but also their own family stories about shopping in another country. Learners also can be encouraged to bring in their pictures if they have them of stores and shopping. Pictures can also be shared from the internet, and discussion can revolve around comparing and contrasting shopping in the United States with other countries. Parents should be assured that their money will be returned. A word bank or word wall with relevant terms will assist students in learning names for various countries' money and relevant economic terms. So this actually provides a great opportunity for all students to have their moment in the classroom and bring in their money and be the star for the day and just be the expert on that money. And I think that's really cool because everybody gets their chance and you're not just singling out or spotlighting one person. So then our book gives an example of this assessment. So you can look at that there. So that is the end of my presentation. But one thing that I would like to add and make clear is that you don't just have to look at how much a peso equals into American money. You can do so much with money. The history behind money, just the pictures within the money, you can look at, like, for us, like presidents or people who have made a huge impact on America, and then like different places and why they have different types of people on their money than we do. And also another really interesting thing that has came to my attention is, why are there no women on American money? That could be something that you could discuss with your class. There's just so much that you can do with money, and I think it's a great thing to put into your classroom and just teach from it. Thank you for listening to my video, and I hope you guys learned a lot.